Hi, it's me again. I know I'm not in my kitchen like I had promised you a few hours ago when I posted on Facebook saying another video was coming. I'm actually in my living room right now. The reason why I'm here instead of the kitchen is that I've got a dog welded to my side here, and she desperately needed my attention, so I decided to give it to her while recording this video. Also, too, it's appropriate because the living room, which is where I'm at now, is the room where Chris and I, my wife and I, talk to our kids about grades, about testing, how well they're doing in school. What are they learning? Those kinds of things. Often my kids will do homework while they're here too. Although we don't have the TV on when they're doing their homework, they'll be on their Chromebooks listening to music while they're getting their stuff done. It's appropriate that we're here in this room talking about testing because the next video, this video that I'm talking to you now, is going to be about testing. It's going to be about the Common Core, and it just seems to fit that the room that I spent a lot of time talking to my kids about testing, about tests and homework, that we spend the next couple of minutes here talking to you about it. I am going to be stating, like I did the last time, these are my own personal opinions. These are not the official opinions of the Sheboygan Area School Board or its administration or staff. These are the opinions of a parent, taxpayer, and candidate for the school board. So please don't say, "Well, Ryan said that such and such is true or that such and such should happen, and it's the official position of the board." It is not always the case. This just happens to be my opinion and where I stand. Common Core. Common Core is, for those of you who are unaware of it, it is a series of standards that are that have been developed by the states, by state administration officials, by governors associations, that really encapsulate what a child should know at a specific grade level. Common Core originally was very bipartisan and non-controversial. However, over the past few years, especially as President Obama and Education Secretary Duncan have really encouraged the adoption of Common Core as a nationwide series of standards, there have been a number of people who have come out very much against the Common Core. I think mainly because they feel that it's a bit of a federal overreach, that they are imposing too much. They're imposing too much on the states, and dictating what states should and what teachers should and should not teach. I think there's also an issue about how rigorous these tests are, or how rigorous these standards are, compared to what they may be teaching currently in their own state or in their own school district. I'll be honest with you, I support Common Core. I find that the Common Core standards are more rigorous than they have been in a number of areas, especially in Wisconsin. Wisconsin standards over the past few years, have fallen woefully short as far as what I think kids should be learning. If you want more information specifically about Common Core, there's going to be a website at the end of this video that will show you where you can go to get more information from the Common Core folks. The issue that I have with Governor Walker and his supporting is he's not supporting of Common Core is that he used to support it. A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to hear Governor Walker at the Wisconsin Association of School Boards convention. At that convention, he said that he was in favor of the Common Core. He felt that the standards were rigorous enough that he believed that Wisconsin students would be able to compete for the best jobs and really be prepared for our 21st century economy. Since then, he has changed his mind. He has now come out against Common Core, stating that he feels that the states are better suited to create each of their own standards. he changed his mind, I think, and this is just my own personal opinion, because of the people who are against Common Core. A lot of people who are against the Common Core standards are those who are in favor of vouchers. And those who have shown a great love of the voucher system are also those who are very much in favor of Governor Walker's governorship and potential presidential candidacy. Where the money goes, it's where your priorities are. And with the money going to Governor Walker, and also saying we are against Common Core and for expanded school vouchers, that's all I have to say about that. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the idea of standardized testing. In my personal opinion, I don't like how standardized tests are done now. I think they are too much focused on simply achievement versus growth. I think growth needs to be a greater emphasis in determining whether or not a kid is successful. However, that is not the view of the state and federal government, so we have to deal with what the law says we have to do. Federal law states that kids in specific grades, kids in each grade that is being tested must take the same test if they receive federal funding. And if they receive state funding as well, too, because most schools that are actually almost all schools, even voucher schools that are receiving state funding are getting some federal funding as well, too, either through a pass-through, or just a mingling of the pot. Governor Walker is proposing that instead of all kids in a certain grade taking the same test, he is proposing that schools that receive state money be allowed to choose from a series of tests that have been validated by the state of Wisconsin, by the University of Wisconsin, as being able to accurately assess whether or not a kid is learning. There are a couple of issues with this. First off, it's against federal law to do so. The federal government has made it clear you take one test in the grade. You do not have multiple tests for the same grade. The other issue is that the same University of Wisconsin group that is supposed to be ratifying these tests, they have flat out said, you really can't compare these individual and separate tests. What one test may have an emphasis on, another test may not. And it is really hard to compare apples to oranges, to use the old saying. And when you cannot compare apples to oranges, it makes it that much more difficult for parents to determine whether or not the kid is learning at this school versus another school. If I use the current WKCE tests, actually these were the tests that were taken last year, to assess whether or not a child in my district is learning. And the WKCE test is the only test that we use. However, Manitowoc uses the ACT suite, which ACT actually is not just the big ACT test that people take in as a junior in high school. They actually have tests for a number of different grades. The ACT test asks different questions. They have greater emphasis. They have different emphasis on different subjects than what the WKCE test does. How do I know if my kid is learning? When the questions are different, when the emphasis are different, I can't tell you. I can't tell you whether or not my kid would learn better in Sheboygan versus Manitowoc if they're not tested the same way. The third issue that I've got with the standardized testing as proposed is that previously tests were paid for by the state of Wisconsin. That was something that they had put on the table, say, we will pay for the test. In fact, That was one of the big issues with changing a lot of our standardized tests this year, is that the state said, we know it's an expensive proposition, we will pop for the test, we'll pay for it. I've not seen anything in Governor Walker's budget saying that they will continue to pay for tests once the 2015 budget year starts in July. Testing is expensive. If you are a parent of a high school kid who's looking at going to college, you have had to write the checks out for the ACT test. It ain't cheap. And if the state isn't going to pay for it and everyone has to take it, who ends up footing the bill? That's right. The schools and the districts do. Money which could be used to pay for things like technology, school books, teachers, will have to be used for a test that may or may not accurately determine whether or not their child is learning. That's it for this time. I am going to do at least one more, maybe a couple more over the next few days. I do want to spend some time talking about the cuts that Governor Walker is proposing for the 2015 school year, how that affects your district, your district, your Sheboygan Area School District, and how we do our budgeting based on what we receive from the state and also from your tax dollars. That's it for now. It is just after 7 o'clock on Friday night. I hope you have a good weekend, and I will talk to you soon.